So, I care to share because before I share, it's already in the works. And so, therefore, with it being already in the works, I am a manifester enough to say word is sound, the sound is power, so that this also is me reaching out to you, touching one hand, two hands, and us coming together for that to happen. Because when two or more gather, like I said, when I'm by myself, it's powerful, but I get to talk to you and share with you to share with you how potent that is. And here's the thing, who job bless, no man curse. All right. All right. So, um, what growth actually costs, because growth has a cost. Okay. Sometimes it's loneliness. I don't want to say it's guilt, but that guilt feeling could creep in sometimes when you know the ball is rolling. You're like, do I deserve this? Yeah, you do. You deserve it. You deserve the greatness. But let me share you something. There are a lot of people that become their own worst enemy, even mentally, when they have this like stinking thinking people used to say back in the days, or um, mental madness. Um, because I don't want to say there's a method to madness, right? No, isn't the method to madness is chaos, is imbalance. We don't want that. So you don't want to become so negatively impact to your own self by the stinking thinking and the negative mental behavior, right? Because a lot of people don't know that they're doing that. What how that can show up in a form in your life is gossiping. You the outcome of gossiping is you're actually that energy comes back to you. Hello. The frequency comes back to you. Like I refrain from, and I don't want to talk about myself in this case, but I just care to really make an example. I refrain myself from gossip because I know what spirit that comes from. I don't want to get too in depth, but I mean read your Bible. If not, read into the frequency and the energy. It's not for you. It's against you. And not only just gossip can be a part of the stinking thinking. When you find yourself that person that only compare, contrast, compete. I know this one female, I don't want to really make any examples here, but it's just like as much as people like her, as much as she probably, I don't want to say well liked, but I do want to say at least maybe she puts up that front to be well liked, but behind closed doors, I'm aware of this. She has this very weird and unhealthy mental, and I'm just like, you know what? Healing needs to be there. Cuz and or healing needs to be there because the reason you care to be a people pleaser, healing has to be there. People please who? I heard someone say the other day, sometimes it's important for people to not like you because you don't owe them anything. But I find there's a lot of people that, and you would never know who these people pleasers are. But if you have a pattern recognition and you have built up your discernment well enough, you could point that out. And it's not you comparing or contrasting the individual or judging them. It's just the awareness part, that highlighted part of being aware. Like you could pray for people. One thing I know is important in my life whenever I do find myself in instances like that where I can recognize a pattern. What awareness has done for me is I can silently pray for that individual. And that's what I do. I tell my children all the time. And I really like to share this part, not to sidetrack it, but I say, I don't have enemies. There is no one in this world that I hate. I don't even know what that word is. I pray for people. I lift them all the way up to God because He knows what to do with them. And I also say this silently, I pray for them, Father God, whatever it is that they're going through today, or who knows how long, that they can overcome it. I give this positive energy of balance. so that they can know what it is like to love you, God. Because it's nothing like that. It's so great. It's nothing greater. All right. So I just want to let you know that stinking thinking, no matter if you liked, no matter if you have $1 million or $1 billion in your bank account, you can still become your own worst enemy with that mental stinking thinking. Gossip could play a role in that. You being a people pleaser could play a role in that. We got to really heal from things that is not for us, right? Being anxious is a playing a role of that. Like, there's in the Bible that says, be anxious for nothing, be anxious for no one. Okay? Come on. It's important because anxiety brings on a whole lot more challenges that we don't need to go through. You know what I mean? And so it's best to nip it in the bud from where it originated in the mind, because that's where the battle is, right? I don't need to get into that too much, but I do want to say it was very important for me to emphasize on you being your own worst enemy. Because, like I said, your bank account, a lot of people like to reference, oh, well, you got to be doing something right. Your bank account is this amount. We we have to really look at what value is, because I don't want to get too in depth, like I said, which I can. If we look at federal notes, right? Right, a promise to pay. We don't want to get into depth of that. What is literally considered value? You have to really redefine what value is in your life. If you find that family time, time also, or yourself, your health, is your wealth, you want to really redefine what value is in your life so that you can understand really what is considered valuable, what is considered worth, keeping sacred. And we have to really refrain from watching someone's bank account, which I know that someone's bank account, of course, if it is, in the millions and billions, can buy you so much things, but it cannot buy you happiness. It cannot buy you love. It cannot buy you real, true, authentic connections. That's things that we all know it's not. You could try, you know, but we all know the truth. That those who do know the truth know that it most times aren't, where you are capable of holding on to valuable things for a long period of time with money, with the cost of money, federal notes. Yes, you can buy a diamond. Yes, you can buy gold. Yes, you can also buy property. Yes, I know that. Yes, there's great things you can get with it, but let's also keep in mind how to authentically, become valuable people by knowing the worth of what value is, by knowing not just the worth of what is considered true, um, indigenous, true, sacred value, right? And I care to say those words because a lot of things are fabricated, and you just have to be able to discern the difference. All right. Um, so I can't stress enough how important it is for you to ground yourself for the awareness part that most times take a long time to heal. And you can start by recognizing the patterns. And from there, finding things that can help you ground yourself. Garden, you can go in the grass, touch the earth, you can go to the water. You can, if you have children or grandchildren, you can play with them. Children brings a lot of truth. They bring a lot of happiness to those that love children, because um it's a great environment to be around children. Why I love children, and have for the longest time since I was a child, since I was young enough to know how children bring, and why, and how children bring happiness. Um, in the Bible, it says, be childlike, not childish, right? In other words. be childlike and not childish. So we have to remain that way to really know how to be kingdom folk, um, and live in the kingdom life every season. So, uh, 40 minutes in, just to let you know, growth is lonely. It's selective, as I have expressed. And that is a truth I had to accept. Um, Sometimes, like I said, it's that guilt, and that guilt don't really come about until, until and unless all of the above I've shared. Um, I would say that sometimes I miss people, but then myself, my higher self would be like, but I'm going to remind you what this person did. But I'm just like, you know what, higher self, I don't need to be reminded. I've forgiven those people. I do miss them, but I know that my boundary is much more respected. I respect my boundary, and it teaches those people that I miss how to respect it as well. I don't ever miss who I used to be. Oh, that's a no. Who I used to be was, the person that wanted to be uh liked by everyone, the people please. Who I also used to be is I didn't know how to say no. I say yes to everything. So my time was never spent with me. That's why I said God had to spend 10 years on me to make sure that I had become, you know what I mean? And uh, who I also used to be, I used to overuse alcohol. I never did drugs like that. Um, and I used to overuse activities that I didn't even need to be in, like too much around people partying and you know too much too much too much boyfriends. Like I didn't need to have that. And if I didn't like you, I found another one. And it was just it was more for me to spend time with myself and more for me to grow in my discernment, because eventually what I've learned is that because I am someone of value, I know how God has made me. God has made me so wonderfully, and I'm thankful for that. I'm not someone that is tainted. I'm not someone that has poor anything. I'm not someone that has um how can I say this? Like God put God put some good things in on my body. He has made me great is as his daughter, and I can't share that with everybody. I didn't know that back in, I never knew that in my old self and who I used to be. I didn't want to say I never knew that. I knew it to an extent, but I just wanted to share it. And that's not how you share it. It needs to be sacred. So if you are a listener and you're understanding where I'm coming from when I say this, not just your old self, but where you are in your life right now, you find that you're of value. You have it to an extent, an idea. You know that you're a kingdom folk. God has called you. You are a child of God. Take the time to get to know yourself before you give yourself to anyone, because what can possibly happen, which I would never want you to go down the road or go down the path of, is whoever that wants you so much more than you might start convincing you you're something you're not. And not that has not happened to me, but it almost did, to where I started to believe what people thought of me. Oh, come on. Please don't get there. Please. And if you have gotten to that point, just do know that allow me to be the one to tell you that those chains are broken. Those chains are gone. That's nothing you should ever or would ever believe, because your becoming is still. And I'm going to tell you this right now, under the sound of my voice. No man in this world could ever come up against you and say that you are not the child of God and that you do not have a path that is righteous. And God does not have a path for you. They cannot come up against you and tell you that. Because if God is for you, who can be against you? You need to remember that. And don't share yourself as much as you don't need to. Okay? Be very, very selective because growth can be lonely. It really isn't. I find that the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is to tell you growth is not, it doesn't need to be lonely. It's just really selective. And sometimes your peace will cost relationships. Sometimes it won't. It's depending on if that person's willing to grow with you. And you don't have to hold that person's hand, but I think you should hold your own hand. And that doesn't make you wrong. I didn't lose people. People lost me. You know, that mentality. And I found so much of myself. Who do you think you are? A child of God, honestly. I mean, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I want to value myself? And that shouldn't ever be a question someone has to ask themselves in the midst of others. That's not the crowd you want to be around. Okay. If you're listening to this, I want you to sit with a couple of questions. Mm. Who have you outgrown? What are you protecting in this season? For me, I realize I'm protecting my clarity, my peace, my future self. This is the part where healing happens quietly. This episode wasn't about having answers, it was about starting. This was for me choosing to show up before everything was figured out. This was for me starting, and that really matters. If this helped you even a little, I'm glad you're here. I really, really am. Once again, visit the IamAfuru.com website. Go through the website and discover every page and read through it. I share that for a reason. Our platform is not just a website, it's a community. Sometimes we live ourselves in this fast life where I I overheard the other day a psychologist, or I think it was a doctor. Not that I don't listen to them or that I do. It's just that I'm aware, right? I keep my mind open to awareness. They said we live in a scroll type of life. And what I mean by scrolling, it's that, in every device that we have, we are given the option to, right? Quote unquote scroll. And with that, what that does to our psychology and our mind, it makes ultimately it makes us care to live in that pace of, if this is not satisfying me, I'm not interested. We have to find ground on things that is healing mechanisms to and find it of interest. Somewhat, we have to find our, help me when I share this, we have to find some of the boring things. Bore is lack of a better word, to be honest. We have to find some of the simpler things, way is a way to put it, that keeps our interest. And most times, or 10 out of 10, I should say, those simple things that we choose to keep our interests will be those very simple things that would help us in those challenging times. It will be kept in your memory bank. For I remember that time when I was listening to this, or I remember that time I was, and you understand the idea. Versus those scrolling moments where we just finding interest and then we find this one thing that kind of heals us in the moment for a second or two and we laugh about it, but then we forget about it the next day. We want to hold on to those valuable moments where we take the actual time to listen. We take the actual time to see what somebody's saying. Not just see what they're saying, because come on, how can you see what they're saying? But understand, right? Find out if this is your community or not. Because our community is to forever grow, right? We can't stop at one point. Because I care to grow. I care to continue to grow. And I believe you will want to do the same. So, what I'm sharing is in these moments, stop and listen to what anyone on a social media platform is saying and check to see if the frequency that you're receiving and they're giving off is a frequency that you can find interest in. Even if the finding interest is of the week, finding interest of the month, finding interest of the year, checking to see if the frequency that they're on is a place where you can find yourself growing through or growing to, because here's the thing. Sometimes we don't know what is for us unless we try, right? And I had to learn that in my seasons. And for me to be as selective as I am today, I'm selective in the knowing and I'm also selective in the unknowing. Here's the thing. What I mean by give someone time to see if they're on your frequency or not. It's important to give chances. I've given enough chances. I've given many chances and I will continue to do that because I'm not a perfect individual. I don't care to be. It's only one perfect person that was on the face of the earth and we all know who that was. So I care to be the best version of me and better than my yesterday. And so how I can become that and how I can offer the idea of you becoming that too is by me saying this. For me to be selective, I had to learn what giving a chance meant. I had to learn how to understand someone that's from a different walk of life from me. I had to be open minded to what growth looks like and what God is calling me to become. Um, it's important to sit in that area and learn yourself because what I've learned in that area of myself is as a Capricorn as well. And I'm just going off of what I've learned from myself, okay? And also adding on the piece of being a Capricorn. I did not like people, although I was always around them. And I think it was because and is because I'm I'm such a big helper, especially in the younger years of my life from teenage to 20s. I've been used as a leader. I have been positioned as a leader, supervisor, manager, assistant to presidents, CEOs, executives at a young age. And so I've grown to really want to be around me only, but that doesn't mean that God isn't calling me to be around people. So what I mean by me being selective is a personal reason as well as where I care to be and asking God to put me there. But however, I have to still keep my mind open to where God wants me to be regardless, right? So accept what I share and understand what I share and what I mean by that because we are not one and the same. No one on the face of this earth has the same identity. No one on the face of this earth has the same fingerprint, eye pattern. So allow me to share this. If by any chance I'm caring to be a leader in this, allow me to be a leader by saying, choose the right path, choose the right community, choose the right idea of growth. You have that choice. You have that choice to connect with people or not. You have that choice to unfollow someone. You have that choice to follow someone. You have that choice. But in those choices, as I ask, pray about it. Don't just make that decision yourself. Ask God. And if you're not familiar, a lot of times people that are experienced will tell you this: sleep on it. Follow what your gut says. You won't go wrong in that area. And I hope I've made an impact with what I've shared thus far. Okay. Um, I would say that we have 5 minutes left, but I'm going to leave you here. I will leave you here, and I want you to remember this. If this has helped you even a little, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you have followed me, and I'm glad that you're following me. And I know that we'll talk again soon. The Renew podcast is every Thursday. It will not only be of my voice, it will also be an actual podcast. So stay tuned. My name is Afuru, and this is I Am Afuru podcast. Peace, y'all.